How's it going, everyone? Tugi here, and the 2015-16 NHL season has begun, and the season has also begun specifically for the Boston Bruins. Now, I want to preface this just by saying I originally had a video done and ready to go. Obviously, I put up the rather large NHL preview video and prediction video in general, and I promised on that video I had a Bruins video coming. This video was done. It was ready to go. I was honestly uploading it, and all I had to do was just change it to public. And then I watched the first game of the season. Now, in that video, I made some assumptions on how I felt like players would do, and just basic predictions on how I felt certain players would perform, mainly the newer players. And obviously, we have some guys on the roster, younger players who are still unproven. And quite a few of those were wrong. Granted, it was one game. It's not the biggest sample size, and certainly not the end of the world to lose one game, particularly losing to Winnipeg. Although anytime you lose 6-2, whether it's the first game of the season or Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, it's going to hurt. Obviously, the latter's going to hurt a little bit more. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's going to hurt, especially when you have so many questions surrounding this team. And to just go out there and lay an egg like you did, particularly in the second and third period, it's going to be disheartening, not only for fans, but for players alike. So I'll kind of recap the game, and I'll bring up certain names along the way and how I feel they are actually going to do. In terms of goaltenders, Tuukka Rask, I don't blame him whatsoever for giving up 5 goals. I thought he looked alright. He made some pretty big saves and a couple of breakaway saves. Honestly, this score could have been a hell of a lot worse. But Rask did what he does best. He made some big saves at a crucial time and at least gave the Bruins a chance to win this game. As far as his backup goes for the season, Jonas Gustafsson obviously didn't play. I liked the signing, though. He looked very good in preseason and definitely earned that spot. Jeremy Smith, who he was competing with, has been loaned out to Minnesota's AHL affiliate, the Iowa Wild. I'm going to be interested to see what happens with Smith. I'd like him to stick around, but I honestly don't think he will ever wear the main roster uniform. I have a feeling he's going to be let go. Zane McIntyre more than likely will be the backup next season, barring some drastic collapse in his game. That leading up to Subban, who honestly I don't know if he'll ever play a game either. I have a strong feeling he might be traded down the line as well. So overall, the first period of this game, the Bruins looked pretty damn good. You had a controversial moment with Alex Burmistrov. He did get called for a penalty, an illegal check to the head, but he had the elbow come up high against Patrice Bergeron. I know a couple of people, it's Twitter, so obviously you're going to have extremes to both sides. I don't know if that deserves a suspension, but it is a little bit concerning. Not to say, oh, he came from the KHL and he doesn't know what he's doing. It is a little bit concerning to see Alex Burmistrov, who has just come back from the KHL and is trying to battle back and become a full-time NHLer. He needs to get his game under control. He did end up getting a goal, an empty net goal, at the very end of this game. But he doesn't have the excuse of not getting along with the coach anymore. He's going to cut that shit out. It's only one game. It's only one penalty. Boston's power play. Before I get into the goal, Boston's power play, I just want to make note, at least in the first period, looked fantastic. Great movement, great quality chances. Unfortunately, they didn't get a goal. But the power play looked much improved, rather than just passing and passing and passing and not knowing when to let the puck go and get a shot on net. It did look very good. Bruins ended up getting a goal in the first period. David Krejci, a pass broken up. He picks it up in front, goes backhand and top shelves. A magnificent finish from David Krejci. And when talking about David Krejci, I'll focus on him for a second. Simply put, his health is going to be a big determining factor on whether or not the Bruins actually make the playoffs this year. It was a huge factor last year. David Krejci is such an integral part of this team, and it is crazy to think that the Bruins do have a 1-2 punch up the middle of Bergeron and Krejci. But when Krejci goes, it does kind of drop off a little bit, and that's the thing. That's how important he is to this team. No offense to Chris Kelly or Ryan Spooner, they're not exactly in the position to jump up to that second line and take those minutes. And unfortunately, I don't want to just focus on players. I do have to get into talking about the second and third period. And it looked like a different Bruins team. It looked like a different Winnipeg team. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if the Bruins got overconfident or Winnipeg just got their shit together. I don't know what happened. But Winnipeg had a magnificent second period, Goals from Mark Scheifele, Blake Wheeler, and Drew Stafford. Depressing to watch. Just absolutely depressing to watch as this young defense was just picked apart. And I'll get into individuals. Third period, a minute and a half in or so, David Pasternak with a magnificent snipe. TD Garden, it gets rocking. It looked like a comeback was imminent. A couple minutes later, Chris Thorburn, of all people, on a breakaway. And I'll give credit to him. I know quite a few Jets fans don't like him, but I don't get to watch Winnipeg games often, but whenever I do, Chris Thorburn always seems to get a goal. So maybe I should stop watching, but a beautiful finish. Midway through the third period, Nicholas Patan, the rookie, gets a crazy deflection in front to make it 5-2, and as I said, Burmistrov adds the empty netter. A 6-2 win for the Winnipeg Jets. And I guess just really quickly, I'll go over each individual player. I'm going to start off with Zdeno Chara, who obviously didn't play. He is still injured. And while the Bruins were doing their traditional intro of the players, you know, they'll announce every player that come onto the ice, they announced Zdeno Chara, and just seeing him in a suit on the bench was almost heartbreaking, because it finally kind of hits you that, you know, at 38 years old, he is human. Zdeno Chara somehow is not a Terminator. Now, I would have bet my right arm that Zdeno Chara was actually a Terminator. So it is really difficult to see him struggling with injuries, to see his body and his age finally catching up with him. I'm also nervous to see how the season goes for Matt Irwin, who looked very impressive in the preseason. He had one particular play tonight that was just absolutely terrible, a turnover behind the net that led to the Blake Wheeler goal. He didn't have the best night in general. I believe he was a -3, I'm not exactly sure, but just, he's better than that. I hope he knows he's better than that, and I hope he plays better than that in the future. Speaking of better than that, Torrey Krug playing top line minutes tonight. Fact is, he's not there. I know it's only one game, but Torrey Krug cannot be your number 2 guy. He's your, you know, 3rd, maybe 4th defenseman and your power play specialist. He cannot be the guy out there logging big minutes. That was further proven tonight. Adam McQuaid as well. I like Adam McQuaid. I don't like the contract. And I honestly don't think he fits the style the Bruins should be playing. They need to be playing a fast, quick counterattack style. He's not that. The puck slows down when he's on the ice. The counterattack slows down when he's on the ice. He just doesn't fit what this team should be. Unlike Colin Miller, who didn't play tonight. Good puck-moving defenseman, fast as hell, a hell of a shot. He should be playing, and I really hope he does soon. Kevin Miller, kind of the exact opposite, and very much like McQuaid. The puck just kind of slows down when he's out there. I'm alright. You can't have, you know, 6 offensive defensemen. But Kevin Miller had a rough game. Joe Morrow as well. Not the greatest of games, and it was a little bit disappointing to see him struggle. I believe he finished at a -1 as well. He had about 22 minutes worth of ice time, and it was just disappointing to see him and Zach Trotman both kind of struggle. This is a big season for both of them, where they both really need to prove that they can be everyday NHLers, and neither of them got off to the best start tonight. Matt Bolesky looked alright. He didn't look amazing. He had some decent opportunities. Had a couple of nice moments where you could really see him working hard and just grinding it out. I'm hoping, you know, only one game for him. I give him a bit more slack as he is with the new team. I like what I saw so far, but definitely look for him to at least get that point production going. Patrice Bergeron was in playoff form. This guy just doesn't care. The best defensive forward in the NHL. Absolutely incredible tonight. Playoff form. He was, without a doubt, their best player. Brett Connolly, another one who looked okay. He had a couple of decent chances and couldn't finish, but I was more impressed with him than I thought I would be. Louis Eriksson, again, another player who had quite a few chances tonight, a couple of really high-quality chances that he just couldn't bury. It's also a big season for him. He's at the end of his deal, $4.25 million this season. He's a UFA next year. Whether or not he's a member of this team next year, I don't know. I'm not sure how I would feel if he is. Certainly not for that amount of money. But if he's hoping for another big money deal, he has to have a big year, especially if his plan is to play himself out of Boston. Jimmy Hayes, I thought, had another decent debut game, much like Matt Bolesky. He had a couple of decent chances. Chris Kelly, also on the last year of his contract, a $3 million deal. He looked okay. He didn't look amazing, and that's kind of the way Chris Kelly plays. Eunice Kemppainen was just kind of there. Tyron Dell was just kind of there. Zach Ronaldo, after the end of the first period, was just kind of there. He had a couple of decent moments in the first period drawing a penalty, but that was really about it. Again, David Krejci looked alright. Brad Marchand looked alright. He had a couple of chances. Pasternak looked pretty good, especially with that goal of his. Ryan Spooner, honestly, it was a real disappointing night for him. A -3 and only 25% on the face-off. And Max Talbot didn't play, but again, he'll get plenty of time this season. So overall, the first game, horrendous, but it's not the end of the world. It is just one game. There's 81 more to go. This team, obviously, as we expected, needs a lot of work, particularly on the back end, and it does make me nervous knowing that the Montreal Canadiens are, that game on Saturday, it's coming right up there, right around the corner. They got their opening night win against Toronto. They look pretty good. I'm so fearful of what PK Subban is going to be able to do. This defense looked really, really vulnerable. Winnipeg has plenty of offensive weapons. Montreal, while they're not the most offensive team, they do have weapons, and of course the rivalry is there, and in recent years the rivalry has been on the side of Montreal. I'm not expecting this game to go well, but you never know, we may have a nice little turnaround. But that'll do it for this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of Game 1? How do you think the Bruins will do this year? Leave a like if you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you feel so inclined. It would be greatly appreciated. And I will catch you guys next time.